Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is Ray, teacher Ray. There's still people coming in right now, so I'm just going to start off a little bit slow here so that we can let everybody come in that's going to come in. I'm going to spotlight myself here. Woo! I hope everybody can see me fine. Welcome. I hope everybody is comfortable and that the echo in this room is not so bad for you. If you guys want to send a chat message, feel free. I'll try to answer any questions as we go. Or raise your little hands and we'll see how it goes. Mostly you're gonna be watching me do my thing. But I hope that we have plenty of time for all of us to get in some questions and answers. All right, so let's start off. Hello, aloha. My name is Raymundo Aguirre. My family is from El Paso, Texas. My mom and dad were born in Mexico and they moved to the United States where they met and created this guy and my siblings. My older sister, who's somewhere in there, shout out to the big Yoli, and my younger sister and my younger brother. Yeah, so I feel that as an English teacher, which is my main profession, English teacher, it has helped me to have been born in that sort of culture and in that Mexican family, moved to the United States, spoke Spanish at home, spoke English at school, in and out of both languages, in and out of both schools. I feel like that has helped me as an English teacher understand the struggles that a lot of English students older and younger go through, because it is a lot of switching and molding and changing and remembering which language you're speaking and to who you're speaking, and are they older than you or younger than you, and of course that feeling of when you were learning a new language, which I still remember being young and learning my languages. I still remember thinking, this is so strange. Wednesday is pronounced Wednesday, and to this day I still cannot write it without saying in my head Wednesday. And so I remember these little tricks that I learned as a kid, and I try to show these tricks to other kids because English is just strange. But just knowing that a person who's coming from a different language can or needs to do these things in order to learn English has helped me, I think. All right, so yes, I started teaching English back in 2012. I lived in the United States before then. I worked in Washington, D.C. for a bit, mostly stayed in Texas. And I worked as a journalist. I worked writing for newspapers, writing for online blogs. Worked with English my whole time as a grown adult. I always worked either with writing or doing some sort of analytics with English. I became a teacher in 2012 when I moved to Korea. I decided to make a big change in my life and took the dive. It was very exciting. It was very fun, and I met a lot of good people. Most importantly, I met my wife. I might sneak her into this seminar a couple times. And then together we traveled throughout Southeast Asia after I left Korea. We, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, so on and so forth, all the way down until we got to Australia. We lived there for a bit. I worked there for a bit as a teacher again. New Zealand was next after that. And then we went back home and to Mexico. So I got back in touch with my roots. I started teaching Spanish there to the local population of Americans and Canadians that were living there. And so I started broadening my abilities as a teacher. Of course, I grew up speaking Spanish, but I then started to learn the techniques of how to change that into a lesson. Now I am in Europe. I'm living in Lithuania, as you can see. And one of the main questions that I get when people find out that I am from the United States and I have been where I have been is, why are you in Lithuania? And why indeed? I'm always quick to answer that question with adventure. Adventure is the reason I'm here. But before I go into any explanation for the specifics as to why I am here, I'd like to actually ask you, why are you here? Why are you here listening to me? I'd like to give a good reason for why I can provide you with a bit of knowledge, a bit of insight, at least my form of it. But I really would like you to think about why it is that you chose to come to an educational seminar, and what it is that you hope to get out of it, and why it is that you want anything out of this to begin with. You could have been listening to a seminar about science or a seminar about car engineering, but you chose this one. So I'd like you to keep that in mind as we go forth. And with that in mind, we'll be able to draw in what it is that we need, what it is that we want. Because of course, not everything that I tell you is gonna be useful to you, but I'll do my best to be useful and impart whatever bit it is that I know. So that being said, there's 4 main things that I will be talking about today. We'll be talking about past influences and how they can help us moving forward. We'll be talking about making connections with kids and how that can help you with connecting with them, of course, and talking to them, the sorts of activities that you can create with them and what it is that you can get out of it as well. The energy that comes along with that, and of course the class attitude that you impart and that is imparted upon you. The last bit is going to be looking around you as you yourself are teaching, as you yourself are being an educator and moving around these kiddos all about. We'll take one at a time. Let's go first, of course, into our past influences. And to start off, I'm going to go into a little slideshow. So let's go into this handy dandy. Ooh, look at that. Let me start this guy off. Bam! How to be a teacher who makes an impact. Nice little photo there. I promise there are no wires. This was all live action. This was in the opening of our Alexotas branch here of Herojus with the fantastic head teacher, Dovile. She's somewhere about, I hope. All right, well, so to start off, of course, I mentioned the past. And I'd like you, first of all, to, if I can, ask you to close your eyes. I'll pretend that you are. Most of your cameras are off. And as your eyes are closed, I'd like you to think about all the teachers of your past, or as many as you can think of. Think of these teachers, the ones you had when you were first starting school, the ones that you had that were screaming at you, the ones that gave you that extra homework, the ones that encouraged you to join chess club or to turn in that extra assignment, or that gave you that one idea that led to the answer you really needed for the test. The ones that you tried cheating under and caught you. Think about these teachers. Now, probably the first ones that came to you were the ones that made the most impact. And of course, if we're going to separate the 2 kinds of impacts into a more generic scope, there'd be the ones that make the positive impact and the ones that make the negative impact. So let's think about those positive impact teachers. Keep them in mind, of course. I have plenty of mine. They probably empowered you to do something that you didn't think you could do or didn't think you wanted to do. They probably encouraged you to move forward with a strange idea that maybe others had told you wasn't really worth doing. But the most important part, I think, is that they opened doors for you. And that really is what we want as teachers, as educators. We want to be the ones that open doors. One teacher that comes to mind for me, one of the many, is a teacher that I later on went on to become very good friends with. She was actually the lady who held the ceremony for my wife and I when we were getting married. Her name is Cheryl Howard, Dr. Cheryl Howard. And I call her the chief. The chief was a very positive figure in my life. And she taught me all sorts of things, but she also taught me how to be a teacher, I think. I think about her much when I teach because that is one of the places where we're going to get our inspiration, not just feeling like what the children might feel when we do to them what our teachers did to us, either positive or negative, but also because we want to be like them. Think of your positive teachers, these teachers that helped encourage and empower and open doors for you, and try to lift them up and try to reach that goal where you are that sort of teacher for somebody else. In the negative side, of course, there were those teachers that made you feel stupid, which is probably one of the worst things you could do to a kid. That they discouraged you from doing things that you thought you really could do, but they gave a sly comment that maybe just made you feel like, maybe I'm wasting my time. It's not going to be worth me finishing this anyways. And just like the positive teachers open doors, these negative teachers close doors. And what lesson we can learn from them is to keep in mind how you felt and avoid being that sort of teacher. I remember my teacher, Mr. Clifford. The only reason I'm using his name is because he's very likely not in this room and nobody in this country knows who he is. No, not Clifford, I'm sorry, Clifton. Clifford was how we made fun of him because really nobody really liked him in school. He gave me so much information in school. Really, I am a better history student because of him. I learned a lot, but I hated every moment of his class. Oh my God. It was the way he was, the way he made you feel when he was around you. He would look over your shoulder and you'd feel like cringe because you felt him breathing on you. He made many students feel very uncomfortable. And if you can't feel comfortable in the place that you're learning, then you're very likely going to miss a few details. I learned a lot, I feel, because I took so many notes and then I went home and I studied those notes. But really, that's all it was. He wrote down a bunch of information and I wrote it down on my paper and I went home and I read it again and I studied and I studied and I studied and I studied. And I went back to his class and I took the test and that was my class. He wrote down what the textbook was, and it wasn't the sort of education that I want to give my students and that I hope that if I ever have kids, that they wouldn't have to deal with. It wasn't exciting for me as a student, and I can't imagine that it was exciting for him. But what he did teach me, now that I look back on it, of course, hindsight is 20/20, is that I don't want to be that kind of teacher. So I actively try my best not to be that teacher. I want to be like the chief, Cheryl Howard, who instead brought in students and taught them more than what her lessons had to do. And this is something also that maybe you can keep in mind, that students don't always learn what you're teaching them. And this sounds a bit strange, but just so I can explain this a bit better. She told me a story about, as a teacher, Cheryl Howard was teaching this class on sociology. And of course, she's teaching, this is sociology, and sociology has this to do, and you take these notes, and let me tell you a bit more about it. When she left class that day, the students weren't talking about the notes they took about her sociology class, but about an off comment that she made about how Disney movies and what was it? McDonald's helped to cement stereotypes between males and females. And this was something that she just said in passing. It wasn't really part of her lesson so much as a comment. And yet that's what everybody remembered, they kept in mind. She taught them that, but that wasn't part of the lesson. That wasn't the lesson she was teaching. And so you also want to keep that in mind as you're teaching. Sometimes kids will pick up on small things that you didn't think they would. One last thing I'd like to say before I move on with this section is that knowledge is never wasted. Many kids are going to ask, as I did, and as you did, I'm sure, if you think back, why am I learning algebra right now? What is this going to help me with? And even to this day, I go to the grocery store and I don't use algebra to find out how much my bag of potatoes is worth. But again, something that I learned from Cheryl Howard is that there is no thing that you learn that doesn't help you. Your mind needs discipline and needs to keep flexible. And when you learn those numbers, when you learn new grammar, when you learn a new phrase or a new manner of standing, a new note in music, this is helping your mind grow, and this is helping your students grow. And we need to let them know that knowledge is not wasted. You're not in class because you have to be in class. You're not in class because we're wasting your time and we're keeping you from your toys and we're keeping you from having fun outside. This is because we're building your mind. Every little thing that you learn in here is going to help you. And of course, we need to make that, as an educator, our goal. We need to open that door to show them this is worthy of knowledge. This is not wasting your time. And of course, also when you're up there, don't feel that you're wasting your time. If it doesn't feel like it's going in the first time, keep working on it. It's not, some kids aren't going to grow up to be mathematicians. Some students aren't going to grow up to be theater enthusiasts or many of the other things that we're teaching them. But that doesn't mean that we're wasting their time, and it doesn't mean that you're wasting your time. It is building their mind. You are helping them. All right, so let's go on to the next bit. The connect. Now that we've thought back about what it is that our past teachers and past experiences can help us moving forward, now I'd like to talk about, of course, how we can connect with our students. This is, of course, a picture of the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo. I believe this is named The Creation of Adam. I always just really liked the figure of almost touching, but not quite. This is sometimes how it feels with kids. You're right there and you're telling them, come on, you got it. You've got 2 + 4 is 6. You can do it. But there's sometimes that little bit that just doesn't grasp their attention. And so for this, my tip is that you need to get to know your kids. That is what I have. That's what I've learned as an educator and as an uncle, as a friend, as a person who spends time around children. If you don't connect with the children, then they're just children that exist. They're just kind of there. If you don't make a connection between you and them, there's not going to be as much of a want or a reason for them to pay attention to what it is that you are trying to say. When you make that connection, you make it more important for them to listen to you, because you're not just that stranger up on the board. You're a person. And so it's important for you to see them as people and for them to see you as a person. How do you do that? Well, one thing that I like to do is to get excited for the small things. They come up to you and they start, look at this, and they're really excited for their Elsa shirt, or they're really excited for the little necklace that they just got, or they just made a little ring that they want to show off. It's important to them. And so it's important that you should take time to make it important. So take notice of these small little things. See that that ring was important, that took time for them to make. Or maybe it's a new skill that they learned and now it's like, oh my goodness, so cool. Can you make me one? Can you show me how? And of course, that's gonna light up their world. That, of course, also along with that is to remember what you're learning about these kids. If you found out that this kid loves dinosaurs and you've been talking to him about dinosaurs, next week when he shows you another dinosaur, don't go, oh my God, you love dinosaurs. Because he will remember, of course, that he showed you this. So keep in mind what he's told you, keep in mind what they tell you, and build on that knowledge. Oh, another dinosaur, cool. Do you know the Apatosaurus? Oh, well, what about the Deinonychus? That's my favorite dinosaur. Find ways to connect with them, but also build on the previous connection that you've already made. Make it little dots that you can connect, and then eventually you're gonna have yourself a constellation in the sky. Also, it's very important, I think, to find out what interests they have that don't interest you. For me, dinosaurs are really, they were really a big deal when I was growing up. So when I see a kid that loves dinosaurs, I'm gonna jump right in there. I didn't really care much for Barbies, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna pay less attention to the other student. Now, Barbies and dinosaurs are probably not gonna be all that big these days. What is important? Roblox, Fortnite, Among Us, Video games. They do a lot of that. They do a lot of anime. They do a lot of cartoons. Take it upon yourself to know what it is that they're into. Blam! Get to know the things your kids spend time on. Give them a real shot. Give them a real shot. I saw so many kids in school drawing this little spaceman with no arms, a red spaceman and a blue spaceman. And they made little cartoons, and sometimes the spaceman was alive and sometimes the spaceman was dead. And I thought, like, oh, that's a strange little thing. I wonder what they're up to. And they would always tell me, Among Us, Among Us, Among Us. And I'm thinking, what is an Among Us? I went home. I saw that it was an app. I saw that there were memes online. I saw that it was a big deal. I was the last one to find out. I didn't care because I'm busy teaching kids. I'm busy finding out what I'm going to be doing in my lesson plans. I'm busy doing relaxation when I'm not teaching. Whoopsie. So I tried my best to not be busy for a second. And give me 1 second. Come on. There we go. I took time to download it. I took time to download Roblox, and I played with my nieces. I took time to download Fortnite, and I talked to some kids about it. I took time to play some Zelda, and now I've got things that I can connect with all sorts of kids. Among Us, still, kids, it blows their mind that I can draw a little character from Among Us. It lights up their eyes when I'm like, oh, that's suspicious, and they know what I'm talking about because I know what they're talking about. I tell them when they talk to me about Roblox, I was like, oh yeah, I built that one little thing and I played with that one game, and they say, oh, that's my favorite game. Do you play this one too? What is your account number? And right away, they're interested. I actually used that in one of my classes when quarantine first started. This was last year. Quarantine started, and so the kids, of course, I know are going to go straight to the game. Sometimes I caught them when we're doing distance learning, playing off to the side. And I started using that to reel them back in. Hey, if you guys do good in this next test, I will share my account. We'll talk to your parents. We'll see if they give us some time to play. And then we'll go in and we'll all play a game together as a class. And man, those kids, right away, they turned in their assignment. They did all of their homework, and they were so excited to play. I mean, I'm not any good at it. That's not what they care about. They care about a moment of connection with the teacher. It's important to them, and it really made them happy just to get that little bit of information. It's not like I ever played with them again, but just the fact that I did that one time was really big for them, and the test scores were really good, and they got all their work done. It was fantastic. Now, after you get to know them, sorry, I keep poking my eye. After you get to know these things that they like, then you can start building activities that help interest them. Not just telling them, oh, we'll play video games together, because of course that's not our intent. Our intent is to get to know them so that we can use that in class to our advantage and for their advantage, for them to be interested in what you're teaching and for you to pull them into the lesson. So I find out that one of my kids loves drawing. Not only loves drawing, but she loves comics. She actually came to a camp during the summer, and we had a camp about comics, and she started drawing her own comics, and she went home and kept drawing comics. And so when she came back in for Spanish class, we're learning her new phrases. What's your name? My name is blah, blah, blah. How old are you? I am blah, blah, blah. Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Where do you live? Blah, blah, blah. Well, so we have these 4 phrases, and on their own, maybe they're not so exciting. So for homework, I had her do this. I want you to pick out 2 of the vocabulary animals that we've been talking about. La perra, el chango. And now these 2 animals are going to be chatting with each other. And they're, guess what? Having that same conversation. What's your name? My name is Changa. How old are you? I'm 9 years old. And so now this kid comes back in, amazing comic, so much detail. She actually adds in so much other things. There's a love story involved. At the end, they end up having hot chocolate together. It gets very, very complex. But all the time, she's practicing her Spanish. She's practicing the lesson, and she had fun with it. She was very excited to bring it back. She gave it to me. She didn't want it back for her. Like she wanted me to put it up on my wall, so it's still there. Another student, I know many of them, Minecraft is a huge one for many kids. Roblox allows you to do a lot of building as well. That's what Minecraft is. And so next week, when we are Kaunas, as we know, as starting distance learning, the kinds of lessons that you can have are different than ones you can have in person. And so we thought, let's let them have fun while they're learning. We want them to practice speaking. We want them to practice listening, but we also want them to be able to do something independently at home. So we gave them the assignment that they're gonna build with whatever it is that they can build, with clay, with Legos, with cookies, with sticks outside, with Minecraft, with Roblox, with, what other one do they have? Animal Crossing, there we go. Anything that they can possibly build with, they need to build a house. The assignment is going to be, after they build it, we just tell them what they're gonna do. They take an hour or so to do to completion the project, and then they practice presenting it to the class. And so when they come back in later on, they've worked independently. We don't have to be there telling them to stay on task and telling them what to do and what to say. They come back and they know what they have to do. Well, this is my house, this is my bed. And then the part of the assignment is they have to use pronouns, prepositions, mind you. The dog is on top of the bed. The picture is next to the bed. The boy is outside the house. And so this becomes the lesson. They had fun creating it, and now they can show it to everybody. And anytime that they build something that's theirs, they're very excited to show. Another thing that I've been doing, I have a character class for English literature, something to bring in the class as a whole. We had a lot of fun with this. I practiced this with these two English speakers that wanted advanced classes. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons, or at least a miniature version of it. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, is a very complex game with wizards and dragons and explosions and swords, and not what I want. I want to focus on English. So I strip it down. All I need is my dice. It's just a regular dice. And I tell them, we're going on an adventure. So we are in this forest. What manner of creature art thou? Oh, I am a wizard. Oh, okay. So we roll the dice. What do you want to do? I want to go talk to those goblins. Roll the dice. Boom. They get a good roll. Okay, so we go and we talk to the goblins. The goblins are angry. What do you want to do? Do we want to fight them, or do we want to talk to them and convince them to join our group? Let's convince them to join our group. We roll a 1. Bad. Oh, the goblins, you accidentally offended them. Now they're chasing us through the town. So the kids are having fun with this creation of a story. And I mean, we're just building it as we go. And who knows where it's going to go, but it's their story. And while we're talking about these silly stories, they're practicing their English. I can get them to use past tense. I can have them use present tense. They're thinking of their actions. They're thinking in English. They're thinking. And as well, they're in a community, which is always very good when they learn to work together. This always encourages their future skills as an independent adult and as an adult who can work with a community. And it just gets them going. It gets their creativity juices flowing, and it's fun for everybody. So those are some of the things that you can do to, geez Louise, it's so hard to admit people when I'm in the middle of this presentation. It's one of the things that you can do once you get to know what interests your kids have. If you know that they like stories, you build stories with them and build your lesson around that. If they like drawing, build a lesson around drawing. If they like Fortnite and Roblox, you can use that in your lessons, or you can use it to talk about things that they like. And when they come into class, they see you. They know that you're a person that lives life outside of the classroom walls and is worthy of paying attention to. You have this relationship with them. One last thing I'd like to say before I move on is it's also important to share with them things about your own life. It's also important for you to tell them things that you care about. First of all, because many times they overlap and you never even knew. Also because, again, it makes you seem like that much more of a person. You are a human. I shared with my kids that I really like skateboarding. And I'm gonna stop this, get out of here. Come on. How do I get out? There we go. Hey, look, it's me. I shared with my kids that I liked skateboarding, and I brought my skateboard to school. It was my manner of transportation. That's just how I got here. It wasn't something special. It wasn't show or tell. But they saw that I had a skateboard. One kid says, "Oh, I have a skateboard too." Next day, he brings his skateboard. Other kids notice. They go in there, ask their parents. A third kid says, next day comes like, "Teacher Ray, I have a skateboard. Can you teach me how to use it?" Sure thing. Lunchtime, we go together. I give them a skateboard lesson. They have fun. Another kid sees, "Hey, Teacher Ray, can I learn too?" Okay. I have a line of kids 10 minutes later of all these kids I want to learn how to skateboard. So then at that point, I'm looking around, there's 10 kids in the classroom. Sometimes they're too shy to talk to me, but outside, we're sharing these English conversations that they wouldn't have had with me otherwise. They're practicing using their language in a way that is showing them how learning in class they're going to be able to take that knowledge and put it to use, as well as having a connection with the teacher. So next time they see me in class, they're like, "Ah, hey," instead of like, "Ooh, that's the teacher I can't talk to." By the end of summer, there was like 20 kids with skateboards. And it was a lot of fun at that point to say, "Hey, do you guys want to go have a class outside?" And so everybody round up your skateboards, round up your scooters, round up your bikes. And we have a big group of 20 children and 2 or 3 teachers. And we all go to the park outside. We sit in the grass and we have lessons outside. So one thing just led to another. It wasn't planned. It wasn't ever my goal. It was just something that happened. I told them what was my interest, and that interest became their interest. And it grew into a community of things that we could relate with and things that I saw them do on their own afterwards without me. They were out skating by themselves. They were out doing things. And yeah, so now I'm waiting for summer again. I'm waiting for the cold to leave so that I can start having some skate sessions again with these kids. All right, let's go back to the amazing slideshow. I don't want you guys to get too bored of my face just yet. All right, so the next one, as you saw, let's go back. Whoa. Is in the classroom. Let's talk about once we have our lessons going. We already know that we're super exciting for the kids, and the kids love us so much. What do we do in the class? And what I want to talk about mostly in this bit is about the attitude that you come into the classroom with. I really believe that kids resonate with the energy that you come in and share with them. And by that, I mean that if you come in and you're in good spirits, they're very likely to be in similar spirits. If you come in angry and bitter, they're going to react in kind. And so it's important for us to keep in mind what energy we're sharing with these kids. And that's not to say come in like blah, exploding and showing them everything. I did a lot of that. I still sometimes do. Sometimes it goes well and sometimes it backfires. I did a lot of that, or I do a lot of that when I first start teaching in a new school, especially because I want the kids to see what kind of a person I am. I'm very excited to be in school when I first start. It's very fun. But I have seen how that backfires. And so this is why I'm sharing this information with you. If you come in too bubbly and too explodey and with too much everything, the kids are going to be really excited and really wanting to jump up and, "Teacher Ray, how are you? What are you doing today?" And they're jumping out of their desks, and it takes a long time to reel them back in. "Okay, relax, kids. Okay. Thing number 1. No, please. No, okay, back up." It can really backfire. In the opposite end, of course, if you come in, you're really timid and you ask, "Kids, can you please open your books?" They're not going to be listening to you. They're not going to care because their friend that's right next to them is just a little bit louder and he's a lot more fun. So what it is that you come into the classroom with sets the tone for what the rest of your class is going to be like. Don't be too timid because they're going to abuse that. They're going to be quick to jump on a wimpy teacher. But if you come in and you're the one that's abusive, if you're the one that's like, "You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that," the more you squeeze, the more they're going to want to rebel. The more I heard this expression the other day. I really liked it. You squeeze them, and they're going to slip through your fingers like sand. If you come in and you're cold, they're going to be uncooperative. This person is not a person, it's just a robot that's standing in front. But just like I said, if you're over the top as well, then it's not going to be good. So come in with a good energy, let them know this is where I want to be. That's the most important part, I think. I'm in the place where I want to be. You should be in the place where you want to be. Let me show you why. We're going to start our lesson, and it's going to go like this. It's going to be great. Be excited for your lesson. Be excited for your lesson. I can't say that enough. If you're not excited for your lesson, they are not going to be. The subject that you teach should be one that you like. I mean, I know that not everything in class is always the best, but someone has to care. And if it's not you, then it's most likely not going to be them. So please, to keep that in mind, care about what you're doing, be excited for your topic, and make sure that your energy is one that they're going to want to receive and want to share with you in part. Another thing that you should keep in mind is, just like Diana Ross used to say, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. You got to show respect to these kids. They are worthy of respect. And you're not going to get any respect unless you give it first. Of course, that's also something they should be taught to give to you. And giving respect is the first step to receive it. They are worthy of respect. They're little humans. They're not on their full growth of mind yet. They don't understand the little things that we as adults have to deal with, or maybe all the little symbols or signals that we send each other. But they are kids, and they do know much more and understand much more sometimes than we give them credit for. We do need to respect who they are as people. And we can't just come in and be authoritative and tell them this is exactly what I want and we're going to do it because you're going to do it. Because again, like I said, you squeeze them and they fall out like sand. They're not our little toys. They're not our little robots to program and have them do exactly what we want them to do. They're people. They come in and sometimes they're fish died or worse, just like us. Sometimes they had a really bad day. Sometimes maybe they had a fight with their mom and dad just as they were stepping out of the car to walk up into your classroom. And if you walk in and you start getting on their case because of any one little thing, it's not going to go well for them and it's not going to go well for you. Treat them with respect. Ask them what's going on. I'm noticing that there's something wrong with you. Do we need to talk about this? Oh boy. Somebody signed into the account. Am I still in here? Can you still see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? All right. Let me see. How many people again? Is everybody still here? Yeah. Thumbs up. Yeah. Sorry for the screaming. I really thought I was kicked out. All right. I'm back. Hey, All right. So where was I? Somewhere about me doing something with the thing and the students talking and whatnot. Respect. Respecting your kids will lead to them respecting you. One little thing I'd like to give a personal experience, of course, just to make sure that this falls in. I had this one student last year, and this student was a good student. He was a rowdy student. He was noisy. He was a bit unruly at times, but he wasn't a bad student. He was funny, and he tried his best to be funny, which can be disruptive in class. But he was okay. He was fine. I got to know him better because he took an extra class with me, and I got to see him with younger students. It was a classroom with mixed students, and so there were younger kids. He happened to be the oldest one, and I really saw him under the spectrum, under the light of he is the big brother. I saw him being brotherly to these other kids, still being funny and silly, and sometimes taking attention away from class. But I got to see him, and we started building this relationship under this different light. This new year, he came back in. He's got a lot bigger now. And of course, as kids get older, they start having to go through different emotions. Their body's changing and their minds are changing and they're noticing different things. And They have access to different things on the internet. They're getting smarter and spreading out and bringing in all sorts of new knowledge into their minds. And of course, their family life is different than yours. They have a family life, and sometimes you have trouble in your family life. Sometimes they have trouble in their family life. And so I started noticing that in class this new year, he was very different than last year. Still silly, but it was aggressively silly. Still disruptive from time, but this time it was more with an edge. It was disrespectful in many ways. When you asked him to stop, he laughed. He changed his voice, and he made it very sarcastic. And it was very mean. A lot of the things that he did were directly mean at the teachers. I felt it. Other teachers felt it. And of course, the first thing that comes to us very often is, you gotta stop doing that, and blah blah blah. And you know, it's a reaction. It's a human reaction. Somebody's being rude to you, and you're thinking, how dare you? Of course, you could see in his face that he was used to that. I did it. Other people did it. I'm sure he probably got it at home as well. And so I started thinking, this isn't helping. He's not getting any better. And it's not making me feel any better. Of course, there's no way he feels any better about it. I've got to change my tactic. I can't just tell him not to do something. So I took him out. I noticed that the class, the same way that your energy gives them energy, the other class's energy gives students energy. And when they're the class clown, all of the laughter or the reaction they're getting out of everybody feeds into them. So I took them out of the class. It wasn't as a punishment. It wasn't because I'm kicking them out. Yeah, I can't stand you. Get out of there. It was because I noticed this is not helping them. This environment is building them in a place where they don't really want to go, and where you don't really want them to go. So I took them out of the class. Outside of class, I started talking to them. Okay, respect. What's going on? What is happening in your life? Is there something you want to talk to me about? And of course, he's not going to tell me. So I poke a little bit more. You know, this is why I'm asking you. I'm asking you because I know you from before. I'm asking you because you gave me this respect before, and I've given you this respect before. Do you understand what I mean by respect? Yes. Well, tell me, what is respect? Oh, okay, well, so now I've got him talking. Okay, tell me, why did you say that to me in class? I don't know, I'm sorry. Okay, I still don't believe you, but let's keep talking. Why are you sorry? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And the more he was talking, the more he let out. And the more he let out, the more he started seeing that he could talk to me. This respect that I was trying to show him, he started remembering that he used to have for me. And little by little, he ended up having a really good conversation with me. When I left, took him back into class, it was a different relationship that we had. He remembered things from the past, and the rest of the class was much better. The next day, of course, he fell back to old practices. So again, we brought it back. Remember, respect. We have respect for each other. This is what I want you to do. This is how I'm going to act with you. Remember? Okay. And little by little, class after class, you reeled him back in a little bit. Of course, things that you do one day aren't always going to stick, just like any lesson that you teach them about math or English or science. It has to be a little work in progress. And so, yeah, that really helped me in my class. And I hope maybe you can use that in class at some point. We're getting along in time. So let's move on to the next part. One last thing I want to do. You do have to remember that even though you want to encourage your kids, even though you want to be the one that helps them in class and tell them, yes, move forward and do well in the world, and you don't always have to tell them to, you can't always be the one that tells them yes. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't always be the one that tells them yes. Sometimes you have to tell them no. Sometimes you have to redirect their attention. Sometimes you have to make it realistic. One thing that, a lesson that I learned this from was the chief again. The chief told me that she was a university professor. Not all of us are, but she was. and she taught a lot of football students. Football is a big deal in Texas, where I am from. And she had to tell them, hey, you guys are really good football players. And maybe you have a future. Maybe you guys are really outstanding athletes. But the fact is that there's a good chance you're not going to make it. Professional sports are a very difficult thing to get into. So you need a backup plan. And sometimes we need to remember that as teachers. We can't just open up all the doors for them, because the more doors you open, the more they're going to look around and like, oh, and they're going to go down a door that really they didn't mean to go down. It was just a small interest that maybe wasn't big for them. I'm not telling you to close doors on them, because we also don't want to be like those negative teachers. But if these kids need to be redirected into a more realistic plan, then that's what we need to help them do. For example, in an elementary setting, maybe they want to create a project. And I talked about creating that house later. Okay, well, I'm going to create a city. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a whole city. I'm going to create a city for all my superheroes. And so they have these big plans for what they're going to do, and they start bringing in the material, and they start doing this and doing that. And next thing you know, they get disappointed because they realize what an endeavor they've created for themselves. We asked them for one thing, and they thought they were going to have a blast because they wanted to create this huge thing. Sometimes we need to reel them in. It's not a good idea to go for the biggest thing right away. Sometimes we need to start small, make it realistic. Start small, build on that small achievement. Make it realistic. We have to be the bad guys sometimes. They're not going to like it when you tell them that they need to make it smaller. So it's all right to be the bad guy. Duh. Let's go on to the next one. This is how I'd like to end. I'd like to talk about the adventure. What is the adventure? Well, the adventure is what has brought you to this place here. I asked you at the beginning, why are you here? So bring that back to yourself. Why are you here? What adventure are you after? The photo that you see on the desk there is a photo that I really like. It is one of her teachers. She has it on her desk, and I always like looking at it when I come into her class to teach her students. Remember why you started and keep going. So it's always good to know where you're starting from, what it is that brought you to where you are, why it is that you want to be a teacher, why it is that you're trying to teach what you're teaching. Yeah. Have you thought about it? People have asked me, why are you here in Lithuania? Adventure. That's what I always say. And really, that's the truth. The truth is, I am here for adventure. The truth is that I left the United States because I wanted to see what else there was. And being a teacher was my road to that adventure. Since then, I've met loads of people. I've been to many countries. I've been very lucky with my life. And being a teacher was what opened all those doors for me. Being a teacher opened doors. And I feel that just like I want that for myself, I also want that for the kids that I teach. So I try to keep that in mind. They are the reason that I'm here. And so I want to be worthy of being able to be the one that was there. They've opened that door for me. I want to be the door for them. And along with that adventure, of course, are a lot of the things in our everyday life, the mundane things that cloud that for us. You're in the classroom and you start worrying about your time. Am I worried? Am I going to make it in time for my next class? Did they finish? What about those worksheets? Did they print? The printer's stuck again. Where's my computer? Did I click into the Zoom correctly? Are all my students present? Oh, what happened to that test? Did you guys turn in all your tests? Did everybody finish their homework? There's an endless list of things that you're always worrying about as a teacher. What you need to remember, of course, is why you started and why you're there. Of course, that is the children. It's always the kids. Don't forget that they're the ones in front of you. If you're worried about their homework, you should be. That is something that you should worry about. Turn in your work because it's important. We're molding your mind. We're keeping you flexible. We're making you malleable so that your mind is strong. Do your assignments because we want you to be disciplined. If you promise to do something, if you said you're going to do it and you committed to it, you should finish it because that will help you in life. Even if you don't become a mathematician, doing that math problem is going to help you forward. It's going to build your mind. It's going to make you disciplined. It's going to help you become a better person. Now, these things that you're teaching them, these things that you want for them, these things that you want for yourself, we want to keep them in mind, but also we need to keep the children that we're teaching in mind. And sometimes you're looking at them in their faces and telling them, do your homework, do this, do that, this assignment. And you need to notice that they're looking at you with big wide eyes. And sometimes those big wide eyes are big question marks. And maybe you're telling them a lot of very good information, but they're not listening. So keep them in mind. You sometimes need to bring it back. Bring it back. Look at what they're showing you in their mind and react accordingly. They are the reason you're here. Don't focus so much on the homework if they are not even in the present. They're somewhere in space. So remember that they're important, and also remember that you are important. That's another little bit. You are important. You are the teacher. You are there for the students, but also you need to take care of yourself. And I say that knowing full well that I haven't, I haven't done so well with my sleep schedule. But it is important for teachers to tell other teachers, take care of yourself. It's important for us to look after each other, because we are our team. We are our team. And I want you guys to know that, you know, when you're walking down the hallways, I'm looking out at you, and I know that you guys are also looking out at me. And it's good for us to look out after each other. And for the people of you that aren't teachers, you parents, look out after your other parents. Parent communities are important. Teacher communities are important. It takes a village. I think that it's important to look after that village. It takes a village to raise a kid. No one kid is going to grow up to be an amazing human without the help of many adults and many friends, many young friends their own age. They're also going to learn from each other. So that's the last little bit I wanted to leave you with. There's still a bit of time, I suppose. Just remember who you are. Let's play Mufasa there. That's my last little pro tip. Woohoo! Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember what you're doing for. That being said, it comes to the conclusion of all of this law. So I have nothing more to add for now, because I feel like if I keep talking, I'm just going to keep talking. And we have dinner to get to. So I'd now like to open it up to questions if there are any. And I don't know how I'm going to tell if anybody has a question. I was told there was a question and answer thing. Alrighty. Well, it seems like everybody is fine. I don't know if I see there's some chats here. These are directed things. I don't know if any of these are questions. All right, so I think that's it. Whee! No questions.
Can I comment, please?
Oh yeah, sure. Who was that? Was that Monica? Hola,
Yeah,
Monica.
it's me. Hi.
¿Cómo estás?
I wanted to thank you for your seminar. I really got some good tips that I wrote down. And the last, that quote that you showed about remember why you started everything, I really like it. And thank you. I'm going to use it because there are so many good days, but also the bad days as well. And that little tip, little quote gives a lot of things, actually. So thank you for your ideas, for your sharing. I really enjoyed, and I wrote down quite a paper. And I'm glad that I participated, and thank you so much.
Thank you. That was very nice of you to say. To my sister, that was Monica. She's a first grade teacher. She's my friend.
I was counting down days for him.
Yeah. She liked to point them out. One day left before your seminar. Alrighty, guys. Any more comments? Anybody want to share some dance moves?
Yeah, Hey, teacher.
Oh yeah, howdy.
I wanted to thank you for this seminar. Like, as you know, we are talking together, but I really enjoy your lessons when I have time just to look around. And you are a real inspiration, not just for kids, but I think for all the teachers. So it's worth it. Thank you a lot.
I hope to live up to that.
Take care of you, okay? Eat a nice dinner.
Oh, I will. Yolanda Aguirre Vargas, por favor.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you, Ray. A lot of the tips that you shared with everybody, I found very interesting because even though I'm not an educator, those are tips that anyone can apply to their daily life as well. And so I really wanted to commend you. This was a very good presentation, and I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you very much. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your comments. That is all for us tonight. I wish you guys have a good night. Have a wonderful evening dinner and maybe a glass of wine. And we can all reset, reflect, and meet you all tomorrow. Mwah! Thanks for coming, guys. Bye-bye.